I sold my land for 40,000 under the asking price. This was 20% below what I believe to be the fair market value for this property when I listed it. I even gave the buyer a vendor take back mortgage so he didn't have to come up with all the funds needed to purchase this land. Hi, my name is Koukun and I'm a real estate investor and I run a real estate team here in the Niagara region. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, check out our free beginner's guide to investing in the Niagara region. Now, I bought this property back in March of 2022, pretty much at the peak of the market. I paid $550,000 for the house and it came with an adjacent 37-foot lot that was not buildable. Since then, I've put in $60,000 into renovating the house and I've rented it out, and I've put about $13,000 into the planning process to create a 50-foot building lot. Pretty much we took some land from the existing house, at least the land beside the house, and added it to the 37-foot piece of land we got with the purchase, creating a 50-foot lot. We had to do a boundary adjustment, so we had to pay surveyors, planners, we had to do a pre-consultation with the city, basically to get the approval for doing it. And we had to even get a minor variance to allow this 50-foot lot to be buildable, because in the city of Fort Erie, where this property is located, you actually can't build in the R1 zone with under 60 feet. But they were pretty lenient about reducing that to 50 feet, so it all worked out. Now, when this process completed last year, I estimated the market value of the land to be around $220,000 based on two comparable sales at that time. When I got my final approvals from the city and I listed the property in February, the demand for land had completely diminished. Pretty much no land was selling because developers were being cautious. Now, the reason I needed to sell this land was because in my portfolio, this was the one property that I could sell and make the most cash available. I hadn't refinanced it because you can't really refinance land easily. And because there was no debt on the land, I was able to get pretty much the entire sale price in cash, versus with the rental properties that I have currently, there's mortgages against it, so the amount of cash available in the case of a sale is much less. I also had a 2-year deadline to either build a house on this land after the approval, or the minor variance that we got approved would expire. Now, I could extend it, but basically I needed to get this property sold. I didn't want it hanging around forever, so I wanted to get it sold sooner than later. Now, when I realized that the demand had pretty much diminished for land, I priced the land pretty much under everyone else in the city. Initially, I brought it down to $199,000 and then $189,000. While this is not the ideal position to be in, it created a situation where if a buyer was interested, I would be the top choice, since I was kind of a medium quality land priced below even inferior parcels of land in the city. There are parcels still priced at $250,000, $300,000 that I consider inferior to the one I just sold, but those properties aren't getting any offers. So what you listed at doesn't matter that much. It's truly what a buyer is willing to pay. And by being willing to drop my price significantly enough, I became the #1 choice if someone was interested in buying land. Now, the downside to this, you also get lowball offers. I got a few lowball offers from $110,000 to even $150,000, but I felt that was significantly less than what I was prepared to accept. If it was that low, I'd just keep the land, wait a couple of years, and maybe extend that minor variance. But by doing this strategy, I was able to get an offer for $180,000, which I considered, even though it's significantly lower than what I started with, at the end of the day, it's 20% less than what I would have gotten if things all worked out. But because I don't have a mortgage, I get the remaining 80% and I have that cash available now versus, waiting a few years. Now, in the process of receiving this offer, the buyer also asked if they could get a vendor take back mortgage. So basically, I will give them a mortgage of $130,000 on this land using the equity that I have in the land upon the sale, and they will pay me interest up to a year, and their goal is to get a building permit approved during this time, and then once it's approved, they get construction financing and they'll basically pay me out. Again, this is not something I would have really agreed to typically, but since they offered a decent price and a decent interest rate, and they were putting about $50,000 down, and I felt the risk wasn't that bad, and I'll make a decent amount of interest while I'm waiting for them to get ready to build, and at which point I get the rest of the money out. Now, this sale will provide me with sufficient staying power to offset the monthly costs of the main house, which is cash flow negative about $800 per month. and provide me a bigger buffer of funds if I need to pay down some debt or potentially use it for a great investment opportunity that comes up. It's better to have the cash available than to be trying to sell the land at a time something else comes up. So I want to be prepared. I want to get ready ahead of time, and whether it's to limit my downside or increase my upside. While the lessons learned in this process may not really apply to you watching this video right now, especially if you're buying or selling a home, because the market is more active, you're not seeing as much of the diminished demand as I saw when selling this piece of land. However, if we do go through more tough times in the future, more of a buyer's market, some of the lessons may be valuable to learn. And I actually learned the lessons that I applied in this sale from a mentor of mine who was in the Edmonton market during their real estate crash over the last 5-6 years. They experienced a very tough time where they employed this exact same strategy. If they have comparable homes selling at a certain price and there's no buyers, they want to be priced the lowest because then they get the first buyer ready to buy. And especially what they experienced was declining prices, so you want to sell it sooner than later. May not fully apply in my case, but I took the lessons from that and I applied it, and I got my land sale when pretty much every other land in the city is just sitting on the market now 3 months, 6 months, some have been sitting for a year and they're just not moving. Are you considering selling a rental property right now? If you are, let me know in the comments below. What is your motivation? What is causing you to consider it? And if you're interested in investing in the Niagara region, there's a link in the description below if you'd like to book a complimentary consultation with one of the investment coaches from our real estate team. Until next time, all the best.